I can't tell you how excited I am today to kick off HBU Thrives. This is the inaugural conversation, and today we have Anicet Lavodrama. Anicet is my brother and my lifetime teammate. Can't tell you how much I love the man, and I know that he has touched a lot of people in his life. He is arguably one of HBU's greatest basketball players, but even more so, he's one of HBU's greatest ambassadors. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and help us make HBU thrive. Well, Anicet, we're here for the inaugural HBU Thrives, a video cast talking about HBU history, and we're here today with Anicet Lavodrama. Anicet is arguably, if not the greatest player that ever played at HBU, and I'm proud to say that I played with you, Anicet, and consider you a dear friend. You had an incredible career at HBU over 4 years, 1981, 1985. Your field goal percentage was at 606%. I mean, think about that. That's amazing. Made 6 shots out of every 10. You were the 4th leading rebounder in HBU history. You averaged 7.1 rebounds a game. You were the 3rd leading on block total in HBU history. And you're the 11th leading scorer. You had over 1,300 points at a time in which shooting the ball was not exactly what we did at HBU. But having heard that about yourself, and you also played 12 years in Spain after being drafted by the Clippers, having heard that about yourself, Anicet, and looking back on your time at HBU, tell us what did HBU mean to you?
Boone, first of all, it's wonderful to be able to speak with you and go over that period of time that it's a key part of who I am today. Going to Houston Baptist University, and both academically and personally, and then from a basketball standpoint, it's like an anchor point. It's very significant. It is something that I hold dear, and it is the anchor point of who I am today and who I became as an adult. I think it was a very good starting point for me. It's a discovery process that is still ongoing anyway, through life. Each day we're discovering who we are, and we're discovering more about what made us who we are and stuff. So to me, Houston Baptist is key. It's a key part and a vital part of my own identity.
Well, I remember, Anicet, I consider you to be a brother, and I remember it was like yesterday when you came to Houston and you came into Sharp Gym and scrimmaged with us. You were, tall but skinny. I think you'd just stepped off of a plane, and you were, as I recall, you spoke 4 or 5 languages, but were just learning how to speak English at the time. And that, we stepped into a season that year in which, as I recall, there were 7 freshmen. This has been 1981. And we were 13 and 14 that year. What was it like for you to have traveled you lived all over the world, but to have come into Houston and to come into that unique environment where you've got teammates, but you don't know them, at the same time trying to adapt, to a new country, into a new city and a new university?
This is a great question. Sort of summarize many things that my mom and my dad sort of tried to instill in all of their children and stuff. So being able to adjust and adapt is key to life, and this is what my dad insisted on, and my mom always showed us. Because of certain circumstances. I was lucky enough to have a father and a mom who worked. All their life they've worked. My dad was a politician. Then he was named ambassador, abroad. So we got used to traveling because of his work. and then going to the US and having to adapt, like you said, within the that new environment, that special environment with the USAR and Houston, especially Texas, R. I guess, prepared to adjust, but I'm still learning up to this day because you're discovering things about yourself, and you're discovering so many things and elements of what makes you who you are through the environment and the people you are with. And then from our standpoint, in regard basketball, for example, like you say, we're seven freshmen, we're all brand new on campus, and being able to have that opportunity to challenge yourself, learn the language. Where I'm from, when you get to high school, it's mandated. I mean, it's mandatory to learn English as the first foreign language. Then you have to choose a second foreign language, which I chose German, because of my older sister, who was my role model. So I was ready to adapt. I was ready to learn and then to become familiar with the new environment. And in terms of the basketball, your question is important because you knew going to college what it meant to be a student athlete. Me, I was always a student and a young person, but combining those two things was vital for my parents to say going to the US is going to be good for me, so that I can combine both academics and sport. But you and most of my teammates, Jeff Pixler, Hamilton Lewis, etc., you all knew what it meant to go from high school to college and play ball. I didn't. To me, it was the academics was like the key part of it, and the sport was also a part of it, but the academics came first. So the question is, it's very interesting and very important for people to hear what we have to say. But I was better prepared to adjust as a student, how to get adapted to the USA, to Houston, to the school, to Houston Baptist, and then to college as a student. And then the basketball part of it also took some tremendous adjustment.
Anicet, going back to that freshman year, that was a tough year for me to adjust. I just came from Austin. I mean, I just was 160 miles away. And that was a tough year adjusting, and particularly because we struggled that year and had difficulties being freshmen. We had Roy Jones and Kelvin Lee on the team who were the elder statesmen. What is your strongest memory from that season?
The three strongest memories were, first of all, getting adjusted to something that I was born, I was educated to always show and implement, which is respect. Okay. So when you speak to someone who's older than you, and in terms of hierarchy, is supposed to be your mentor, your teacher, the person who guides you, which Coach Iba was to adjust to that mentor, to that coach as an adult, showing respect when he spoke to me, where I'm from culturally. When that adult speaks to you, you have to sort of like lower your head, and don't look him straight in the eye, because this is like a daring sort of posture, So every time I would look down, Coach Aba would say, "Look at me, look into my eyes," and stuff, So to me, that was something that really hit me, because I was being educated and polite, and I felt sort of like very uncomfortable if you have to look to an adult straight in the eye. To me, that was key. And then the second point, the second like strong point, was getting adjusted to the pace and the intensity. We have, of course, two very good seniors. I think we're very lucky to have Roy Jones and Kelvin Lee as our seniors. But we also had Philip Seiler, if you remember. Philip Seiler was also someone to me was very important, because, of course, he played inside, and also Daryl German, who was maybe a little bit more low key, but Daryl German was also a very strong leader through his attitude, his intensity, and his approach to what we could call the business of being an athlete, being a student athlete. You know, so seeing that intensity and the focus they had, like I said earlier, you had a sense of what it means to go to the NCAA and go to be a student athlete in college. My sense was I was going to school, and then I played basketball. So that also was a strong point. And then the third point was just the pace of things. I mean, getting up in the morning, going to school. I was used to that, because back in the Central African Republic, we also started school around 7:30 and stuff. So you have to get up early and stuff. But you have to go to practice right after, you had lunch right after class. So the pace of things was it was exciting, but it was sort of overwhelming at times. At the same time, I was missing missing my family.
After our freshman year, we obviously developed and got a whole lot better as a team, and we grew together. We were 20-9 our second year, 24-7 in our junior year, went to the NCAA tournament. And then our senior year, we're 21-8. What do you think the key was to us developing and getting better? I mean, clearly we had talent, we had strong coaches, but what do you think the key was for us as a group, and why we gelled so well?
For a group, a team, or a work group, everything has to do with the character and the quality of the humanness in the members of the group. And to me, I have to credit, of course, our coaches. Coach Iba, John Hammond, Coach Jones, Coach Fergus, for example, and then Bob Marlin also. I think you have to credit the coaches. The kind of people they recruited in us made it, created something that made for a stronger bond among ourselves. So the team was very strong as a team, as a unit. We identify with each other. I think we spent a lot of time also together at the apartment complex, where we stayed at. We spent a lot of time together. We liked each other mostly. We were not all like friends, hanging around all the time. The seniors were seniors. We had a little bit of experience with some of the seniors, like Kelvin Lee, for example, a little bit with Roy. But the bond between us was very strong. I think this is key for any team to perform up to its potential. I think we had very good potential athletically, basketball-wise. Our talent complemented each other. So, given those two components, the quality of us as human beings and then the talent made us to be very competitive. I mean, even though to me I was just competing. I mean, I just love competing. I love to be on the court, and I love to see that I was improving. And our coaches, of course, made it so that we grew and developed, and we identify with our team. I mean, with each and every one of our teammates and stuff. So to me, credit to Houston Baptist Athletic Program and the coaches to how they recruited us, whom we were, as teammates. Even those who did not finish at HBU, we had some teammates who got hurt, had to leave and stuff, But those two bases created what became like a winning formula, which led us to win our conference and go on to play at the NCAA tournament.
I think we were really lucky too to have really good coaches. I mean, if you look at it, Coach Hammond is now the general manager of the Orlando Magic. Coach Iba obviously had a storied career. Coach Jones went on coach HBU for a couple of years, and then went on, had a great career at a number of other schools. Coach Marlin's the coach at University of Louisiana, and then Coach Ferguson, who's coaching high school and just doing really, really well. We were really lucky. For me, Coach Iba was a really instrumental person in my life. I mean, he changed the direction of my life. and helped me, become who I am today. So I kind of, without getting too, we don't want to make his head too big about that. But what is your fondest memory of Coach Iba? Either whether it was practice in a game or somewhere else. What's your fondest memory of him?
My fondest memories, first of all, are related to, first of all, his demeanor, his attitudes, his dress code, the way he dressed, and the way he spoke to all of us as a group, as a team. And then my fondest memories, like little phrases, like Anicet, you're gonna have to do better than this and stuff, and just those short phrases, but then with that look in his eye that said a lot more than his phrases and the words he used and stuff, And one of the key things to me that I'm fond of, and I was scared, headless of that, was those first time when he spoke to me and he said, listen, we have practice at such and such time. You have to be here. The dress code is such and such. And I would lower my eyes, like I said, and would say, you have to look into my eyes. And he just had that this intensity in his expression, You have to look at me. You have to look straight at me, And this is wonderful. I wish we could make a movie out of that, because just those eyes remind me of, like Robert De Niro when he does this thing. To me, this is one of the funnest things. And when I was getting interest in regards being drafted in 1984 and then in 1985, the thing he said to me, he was sort of himself overwhelmed by this possibility of one of his players being drafted. He was afraid not to give me the wrong advices or make the wrong comments, So just sharing that moment of decision making with him, to me, was very significant, very significant.
Well, what I love about Coach Iba, he was so intense all the time. He thought that practice was the greatest thing in the world. I think he enjoyed practices more than he did games. And when he would get upset with you, where you didn't quite do exactly as he wanted to, he had no problem correcting your behavior or correcting whatever you did. But you recall he also had the tendency to, when he'd be really, really mad, is he'd stare at the ground and yell. He'd put his head down and he'd stare at the ground, and then he always carried his arm like this too, but like this. And then if he did this and stared at the ground, you were in trouble. There was just no way. There was no way around it. You were going to have to do something in practice. I tell people all the time that the 5-on-7, where you basically had 2-on-7 drill, it shaped my life. It formed who I am today. And I knew that if I could make it through that drill in practice, I was golden. If I made it through that drill, I was in good shape. I could survive the rest and could do anything in the world that I wanted to after that. But those practices, I have stronger memories of practices almost than I do of games. I think Anicet, having played for Coach Iba for 4 years and being around him to this day and talking to him, what was it about Coach Iba that stayed with you and struck you as unique about him and your experiences with him?
The unique thing about Gene Iba was, up to this day, it's not easy for me to say Gene Iba. To me, it's always Coach Iba, To me, it is how the way he was in terms of his intensity and what he was trying to teach all of us and share with us was how seriously he took his work. Okay, how seriously he took his responsibility as our coach, our mentor, and our guide. Basically, he took his work and his job responsibility very seriously, and he wanted us to understand this and also take the privilege of being student athletes, being able to have a scholarship, being able to attend a good school and get our preparation academically and stuff. So I believe Coach Alba was just that intense person who took his work very seriously and took his responsibility of being our mentor, our teacher, our caretaker. Uh, this is what stays with me. I mean, up to this day, like I said, it's not easy for me to call him Gene. It's always Coach Iba, up to this day. Even when I speak to her, when I call their house and his wife answer the phone and stuff, and she would always say, okay, and he said, good speaking to you. Let me pass you on to Coach, and this is something that is very special. It's very
Right.
dear to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. When I see Coach, I have a hard time. It's either Coach or Coach Iba. I can't really refer to him as Gene. It's just not what's supposed to be done. The funny thing about his intensity is that a lot of it was really measured and intentional. And for him, his intensity was a tool. I mean, he used it as a tool. And I'm going to get in trouble for telling this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I remember just distinctly at one point in time, I don't remember what year, we were in Sharp Gym and we were not playing well in the first half and doing poorly. And for some reason I went in early for therapy or something. And I was in the locker room before everybody else, before the half was over. And I was sitting there and a manager walks into the locker room. If you remember the locker room had that big pillar kind of right at the front door. There was sort of a support pillar. And the manager walks in and he's looking for a trash can. And I'm watching, what is he doing? He takes the trash can and he sets it down and puts it kind of in a place near the door. And I'm thinking, what is he doing? And we all come in and we're sitting there waiting, knowing we're about to get chewed out, because we didn't play well. And Coach Alba comes in a storm and he starts looking for that trash can and he can't find it. And he goes to kick it and he misses it. And then he kicks it again, and finally it goes flying, and it was a total setup for him to come in and grab our attention. And it was just so comical because that first swing, he totally missed it, but that was Coach Alba. His intensity was intentional. It was a measured tool for us and to grab our attention and to really help us make sure that we listen to him. And for that, I'll always love him. There are other stories that we are not appropriate for this video cast that we can't tell. It's really not true. There's really all those stories we could tell about Coach Alba are all PG, but there are some great